Thomas Paine, Sam Adams, Benjamin Franklin. These men spoke up for what they thought was right. From their courage came such documents as the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution of the United States. From their willingness to speak what was sometimes unpopular but right, we enjoy such liberties as freedom of speech, the right to keep and bear arms, and freedom of religion. There are those who still wish to oppress our freedoms, and there are still patriots willing to stand up and defend life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Men like Zeb Bell, who honor our founding fathers and what they stood for. It's now time for Zeb at the ranch, speaking up and defending your freedoms. Brought to you by Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers and all of the other great advertisers on the program. And now, Zeb Bell.
The next statement I'm going to make is definitely not politically correct. And I thought whether I should or not read this morning, and I think, yes, I will, because of the content and the meaning. Some 200 years ago, white people sat on their porches and watched the black people do the work that needed to be done, so the whites could live the life they wanted. If the blacks didn't produce enough to keep the whites happy, they complained about it. In those days, it was called slavery. Today, the black people sit on their porches and watch the white people work to pay the taxes that are necessary for the blacks to live the life they want. If their welfare check is not enough to keep them happy, they complain about it. It would appear to me that the only thing that has changed is the color of the slaves. Think about it. Here comes Kate Smith and God Bless America, followed by a patriot with our Pledge of Allegiance. Somebody call in right now. Good morning. Oh, good morning, good morning. Zeb at the Ranch. I'm Zeb Bell with our major sponsor, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. All 7 locations serving you. Really good folks. Along with some of our great advertisers, including Western Waste Services, always at your disposal. Call, get on the route service to have your garbage picked up, 734-6969. Also, Valley-wide Home and Ranch, 910 South Oneida in Rupert. Everything for the farm, the home, and the ranch at Valley-wide Home and Ranch. Let's check over at the main studio with Wheels and see if we have a Pledge of Allegiance person. Good morning.
Good morning, sir.
Well, don't leave me hanging, Wheels. Give us the pledge if you're the only one. Thank you.
All right. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Hey, very well done. I want to compliment you on that.
Thank you.
All right, sir. Thank you very much. It's time for the weather, and this at Cheney Home and Design. I got to get this all straight in my mind. Well, back up. Repeat. Cheney Flooring and Home Design, 1228 Oakley Avenue in Burley, and it's We Can Do It Wednesday. You can do a lot of things right there on your own property in your own home, and you can do it. And all you need is a little pushing and shoving and help from the best. Cheney Flooring and Home Design, 1228 Oakley Avenue in Burley. Look for the blue door, 678-6945. And don't forget, whatever you need to make your house a home, they can help. Carpet and flooring, kitchen construction, home decor, everything at Cheney Flooring and Home Design. Right now, here's the weather.
Here's your weather forecast as we do hit midweek. Sunny skies for today, a little bit on the breezy side, but a gorgeous day. High of 83, tonight low 50. Tomorrow, sunny skies, going to be creeping up to about 90 degrees. And then as we work our way towards the weekend, partly to mostly sunny skies, highs are going to be in the low to mid 90s, and we can expect this high pressure system to pretty much stick around for about the next 10 days. That's your weather forecast for Zeb at the Ranch.
I appreciate it, Gina. Thank you very much. Brought to you by some really good friends of ours. And they got a lot of newly refurbished furniture, too. Cheney Flooring and Home Design, 1228 Oakley Avenue in Burley, 678-6945. Look for the blue door. There you go. Hey, by the way, big team roping tonight over in Jerome. Starts at 7:30 with sign-up. Rope at 8 o'clock. Part of the Jerome County Fair team roping series that's going on. And Dave Zanino is the man that's in charge. 431-1263. Ted's Diesel and Electric is moving to 635 21st Street in Hayburn on El Fresco Road, owned by Doug Martin. Good old Doug Martin, you better believe it. And Doug can rebuild starters and alternators and generators. He's got a business that's known all over this part of the country. And he can rebuild everything from lawnmowers to locomotives. You better believe it. Open 8 to 5, Monday through Friday. Ted's Diesel and Electric, moving to 635 21st Street in Hayburn. All right, calls are welcome and appreciated. 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Let me give you a little bit of the rundown and what we're going to be talking about this morning. Now, Dave Beagle from Indianapolis, Indiana, is going to be on at 9:06 this morning, and we're going to be talking about the Hillary campaign and also some new bombshells that have come out with people that are in Hillary and Bill's past. We're going to talk about that. And then at 9:30, one of my dear friends, Pastor Alex Lissau, now living up in the Ashton area and taking care of 2 churches up in that area, is going to be calling in. We're going to be talking about the state of degradation that we are in right now. Things are falling apart. And then at 10:06 this morning, I've invited Adrian Arp, Dr. Arp, to be on our program this morning. And we're going to be talking about the refugee center. We're going to be talking about the problems that may be incurred not only here but nationwide. And that's going to be on at 10:06 this morning. Don't forget Ramsey Heating and Electric. And boy, you heard the weather forecast. Today, pleasant 83. Tomorrow, bingo, thermometer is going up and possibly hit the 90s for the rest of the weekend, and you want to stay cool. Well, by staying cool, that means that your air conditioner is going to have to run efficiently. So check out the air filters at Ramsey Heating and Electric, 2600 Overland Avenue in Burley. They are open 7:30 to 5 Monday through Friday. Some of the nicest people I know are right there at Ramsey Heating and Electric, and they will help you with all your heating and electric needs, where they provide warm winters and cool summers at Ramsey Heating and Electric. By the way, right now is a busy time for everybody to get ready for all the fairs. And, you know, like I said the other day, you're hurrying to get to the fair. You got the sheep project, you got the hogs, maybe you got the horse project, or maybe the steer project, maybe a dairy heifer, whatever. And you're pitching and throwing everything in the trailer, and all of a sudden you get to the fair and you go, holy smokes, I forgot all the buckets. Holy smokes, I forgot the brushes. Holy smokes, I forgot the feed. Well, don't worry. Just amble over to Valley Wide Home and Ranch, 910 South Oneida in Rupert. They've got everything. You don't have to worry about it. You don't have to run 60 miles back home. It's right there. It's right there at Valley Wide Home and Ranch. Plus all the bug spray, the wasp spray, everything. You stop in and see some really good people at 910 South Oneida in Rupert. Valley Wide Home and Ranch. Everything for the farm, the home, and the ranch. You know, I thought I was sickened to the point of tears last week. Well, then another video has surfaced about Planned Parenthood, and this one is even worse than the first. It's more insidious, more horrifying to watch and listen to, and it proves beyond a shadow of a doubt. I don't often agree with Bill O'Reilly on the way and his tactics of interviewing and that type of thing, but I will agree with the word that he used last night on his program. We are becoming very barbaric. And I mean that. We are becoming very barbaric. We, and these are my words, I believe our country and our citizenry in general have lost our character and our culture. And I honestly and firmly believe that no matter what they do to try to cover their tracks on this, or try to shift the blame on this like they're doing in California, this administration is evil. Now, I want to say it again, and I don't use that word evil lightly. This current administration is evil in their support of Planned Parenthood. I listened to White House spokesman Josh Earnest yesterday, and I was enraged at the cover-up and pacification of what's going on here with Planned Parenthood in these videos. And I literally wanted to take my boot off and throw it through the TV. We are becoming barbaric. And I do believe that we've lost our character, our qualities of our character, and also our culture, what our culture stands for. And we have got to clean things up. And so this morning, I am urging everyone to call their congressmen, their senators, and tell them, no more money. No more money for Planned Parenthood until we get this whole mess cleaned up and find out exactly what Planned Parenthood is doing and what they stand for. Calls are welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. If there's any audience of any talk show that's going to take action, it's mine. And I really appreciate your efforts. Thank you very much. Caller, I'll be right there. Don't forget Denny's Restaurant, 611 Overland and Burley, the home of Zeb's Lunch Bunch. And, oh my, the food is good. When you talk about a menu choice and you talk about the pictures in the menu jumping right out and being right on your plate, it's true. Oh, it looks good. It is good. It tastes delicious. Denny's Restaurant, 611 Overland and Burley, and a new location at 291 Pole Line Road in Twin Falls. And yes, they are the home of Zeb's Lunch Bunch. Wonderful people, great food choices, breakfast, lunch, and dinner at Denny's Restaurant. You stop in and see those good folks today. Caller, good morning. How are you?
I'm well, Zeb. How are you?
Well,
this topic of Planned Parenthood and stuff has me so dang wound up. When I first seen and heard about the videos, you may disagree with me, but I thought, you know what? I'm glad that those videos came to surface, because maybe it just might get these back row people that are against abortion. It might get them a fire lit underneath of them and get them going in a direction to get this shut down. And I asked people all around if they've heard about it, and nobody has ever. People have heard about it, but it doesn't seem to bother them. I don't understand that.
Well, no, I and you are on the same page. I hate to use the word glad in such a heinous action as what happened with these videos in Planned Parenthood, but I am very, very satisfied that they're going to get what they deserve, and I hope that is nothing. I hope they become shut down. I hope they fall out of existence. When I saw the first video and listened to the nonchalance of the doctor eating a salad and drinking a red wine while talking about this heinous activity of body parts and everything else on babies that should be human beings today alive, I was sickened. And now this next video that came out was even worse, and like I said a moment ago, even more insidious and horrifying. But I, like you, I want the general public, and I want the liberal left to have to explain their supports for such an absolutely barbaric action.
Well, and that's the exact thing that we're all after, I believe. And the thing that frustrates me is it's no different, Zeb, than them coming to our house and taking money right out of our pockets.
Yep.
And giving it to the people we don't want to support, when there's places take Birthright and Rupert that offers counseling, that offers help for mothers, that offers blankets and this and that. And that's all run on voluntary, but they're going to get millions of dollars to destroy lives. I'm appalled. I'm appalled.
I think your analogy is one that's very succinct, and I think you're right on base to have the leader of the charge for your neighborhood and tell others. I am absolutely calling this administration evil for their support of Planned Parenthood. I'm not going to back off on this. I would like to see the funding stopped. I would like to see lawsuits. I'd like to see these doctors go to jail. I am absolutely appalled. And, sir, I commend you for your call. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Zip.
Caller number 2, you are on the air. Go ahead, please.
Well, one of the things we've got here is Mitch McConnell, who was so worried about getting reelected, and he barely got reelected. And now he is blocking this defunding of Planned Parenthood in a way that makes it look like he's hiding behind the bushes. And I'm going to tell you, between him and Boehner, finally Reed is going to be gone through a miracle, but this McConnell and Boehner, I'm telling you, man, these guys are the worst. And so it's unbelievable. You know, one more point to that quick, and then, I'll hang up. And if you've done research on preemie babies that were so little that you could hold them in your hand and they lived, and I seen that hand of that little baby and whatever else was laying on that tray, and I said to myself, what kind of monster would perpetuate this, let alone do it?
Stop right there, because you've made an excellent point, and I want to expand on it. And it goes back to 2007, when Barack Obama was an Illinois senator, and he advocated partial birth abortion. He advocated the heinous activities that were taking place. If you'll recall, and you've been a listener of this program for years, I had one of the nurses in Chicago at that hospital on my program talking about how they were ordered in partial birth abortion cases, if the baby was not dead at that time, they were told to put the baby on a gurney and put it in a closet area until the baby expired. This president now of this United States advocated that inhumane treatment of the unborn, and I am sickened by this administration.
I'm going to tell you that my brother says it all the time. He goes, these people's fate is sealed. He says, when they get to the judgment table, he says, this will not be good. The arrogance of these people and the callous disregard for human life, you just say to yourself, what have we become?
Well, look at our whole society, Randy, and other callers can chime in on this too. Look at Planned Parenthood, their problems, their insidious actions. Look at the gender problem in this country with the homosexuals, the gay, lesbians, transgenders trying to transform our society into their immorality. Look at what's happening with the Boy Scouts. I mean, every single day there's a story about our society falling apart, and we sit back like meek sheep and we're not saying anything.
We're not. I've seen mothers who miscarried, and I don't know how old the child was or many weeks along, but I watched them sob in tears as they had lost a child, and in some cases lost another one, and they were so desperate to be a mother and a father, and here we have these perfect little human beings being intentionally murdered.
It's total sadness. Randy, God bless you. Thank you so much. Thank you. It's total sadness. We are becoming barbaric. Caller, please bear with me just a moment. I got to get these spots in. BASF, committed to successful agriculture. And every Monday at 9:46, we have my dear friend Ron Ellis come on behalf of BASF, 431-6776. BASF with all the different products to help farmers grow bigger, better, and, of course, the safest of crops. Right here in the great United States of America. And we know that late blight is becoming a problem in the potatoes, and they can help. They will help. All you have to do is contact your field man, your crop advisor, or Ron Ellis at 431-6776. BASF, committed to successful agriculture. And don't forget, too, later on this morning, tomorrow, we're going to have Zach on the program from Minnecasia Sales, 1321 East Main Street in Burley. They sponsor Dr. History on Tuesdays. Thank you so much. All your lumber, all your windows with the Great Western Windows, save on your heating and cooling bills. They've got everything, including all the Tartar Farm and ranch gates and panels. Everything at Minnecasia Sales, 1321 East Main in Burley. Caller, you are on the air.
Good morning, Zip.
Yes, sir.
You know, there's an old, and I don't know if it's a fable or not, but they say that if you catch a frog and you put it in a pan of warm, just lukewarm water on a burner, he will not jump out. And then you turn the burner up a little bit at a time, and he will stay in there until he is dead.
Absolutely.
And that's exactly what Obamacare is doing for us. This is what what we were talking about there.
Planned Parenthood. It's the same thing. Everything this...
enough to get used to it, and eventually you might even get the way you like it.
Yeah. You brought up an excellent point about the frog and the hot water on the stove and the absolute destruction of our society. That's what's happening. They're throwing everything at us, whether it's the Boy Scouts, Planned Parenthood, whether it's absolutely the total immorality as to what's going on in this country, the threat of ISIS and the lone wolves, no longer lone wolves, pack of wolves that are absolutely a heinous threat to our society. Little by little by little by little, but then it all turns into a great big cancerous glob, and our society is done.
Yeah, it's just like your children in the city there. My daughter, when her children were a lot younger, she would not let them ride their bicycle around the block. And that hasn't been that many years ago. And now it's almost taboo. I mean, we went so far away from where the Lord wants us to be.
You know, here's the thing, Keith. I don't mean to hurry you, but I got a hard break and I got another call. But I want to just say this. Remember the days of the Saturday Evening Post and the Norman Rockwell paintings on the front cover of America and the goodness of America?
I long for those days.
Amen to you. Sir, thank you for your call. God bless you. Thank you so much.
You bet. Bye-bye.
If you have any of those old copies of the Saturday Evening Post, you might want to just go up in the attic and kind of look at them. Look at the pictures of Mom and Dad and the kids going to church. Look at the pictures of Mom and Dad going to the lake and having a picnic with the kids. Look at all the pictures and think, that's what the goodness of America was. Caller number 2, I really don't want to hold you more than a minute, so if you'll stand by, I'll get right to you. Right now, I've got to get this on the air real quick for Mount Harrison Audiology, Wellness Program and Your Hearing. Christine Pickup, Doctor of Audiology, right behind the Minidoka Hospital, across from the emergency room, and the number to call for a hearing screening is 312-0957. Christine Pickup and Mount Harrison Audiology, they help me, they will and can help you. Don't let your hearing become a major problem. Check it out. Have a hearing screening today. Call 312-0957. And now, thanks to Wheels, here comes the Capital Press Ag Minute.
Today's Ag Minute brought to you by the Capital Press, the West Ag Weekly.
Year-over-year increases in both U.S. beef cows and beef replacement heifers show last year's start to beef herd expansion is on solid ground. Beef cows are up 3% over last year's July inventory, and heifer replacements are up 7%, according to USDA's National Agriculture Stats Report released July 24th. The increase were expected and confirmed the industry is in full-blown recurrent expansion, though it's still just starting out. All cattle and calves are up from July 2014, and the USDA expects the 2015 calf crop to increase. Producers are responding to basic price signals, but it'll take a couple more years to build the herd to the level it needs to be compatible with the market. For the Capital Press Ag Minute, I am Raul Peña.
For more agriculture news and information, turn to the West Ag Weekly, the Capital Press, and capitalpress.com.
Thank you very much. Brought to you by Mount Harrison Audiology. Absolutely a wonderful lady. Christine Pickup, Doctor of Audiology. Get a hearing screening today. 312-0957. Caller, thank you for your patience. God bless. Good morning.
Good morning. I want to say Christine's the best. I mean, I've been to her and I love her. But what I was going to say, I want you to take your mind back into the Bible, back into the days of Abraham, where mothers would have their babies, give them up, and they'd throw them into the fire, to the idols. We've hit that stage.
You know...
And it's scary.
It's more than that. I was watching television last night, and I got to tell you that I was just absolutely so saddened to think that people in Detroit were standing in line to see a huge 9-foot-tall replica of what they think Satan looks like, and almost like they were worshiping the opportunity to go look at this hideous idol. And I couldn't help but think of the Bible, thou shalt have no other gods but me. And that... I saw that, and I saw the degradation of America. I saw the Planned Parenthoods. I saw the queer nation attitude. And Helen, I'll be honest with you, I am very concerned.
Well, I am too, but you know, until the people of this America changes their ways, change their thoughts of thinking, and goes back to God, we're going to get worse. I
couldn't agree more. And I always appreciate your call. You do make me nervous at times, but I appreciate your call. Thanks, Ellen. I love that lady. Her and her husband are some of the nicest people I've ever had a chance to know. Calls are welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Give me a call. By the way, here's a little news note for the Times News and also for the College of Southern Idaho. This morning at 4:15 a.m. Mountain Time, 6:15 Eastern Time, there was a news story about the refugees coming into this country. There was a news story that highlighted and centered on the Syrian refugees coming into the United States, of which we in the Magic Valley are supposed to be hosting in about the 1st of September, latter month of August and 1st of September. And the FBI came out and they said, along with other regulatory agencies involved with investigating terror threats, they said, we can't track and we can't vet all the Syrian refugees. We don't know who and what they are. Isn't that comforting? And I certainly hope that CSI President Jeff Fox and his band of council members are going to be able to hear that report and worry like the rest of us. There is not a condemnation from this program of all people coming in as refugees. But right now, where the world is so destabled, where the world is on shaky turf because we don't know who the bad guys and the bad girls are, the vetting process is not even close to being up to par. And that's why there should be concerns from all citizens. And for the Times News to call those people that are asking questions ignorant, I condemn the Times News. And they deserve that condemnation. Calls are welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Give me a call. I'd like to hear what you have to say. And in just a moment, I want to talk about Hillary Clinton and a person that was extremely close to Hillary, and both Bill and Hillary, has come out and said, no way. America cannot vote her in as president. We'll talk about that in just a moment. Don't forget Barry Equipment and Rental, Eli, Nick, the whole crew, everybody. They have the equipment to get the job done right, any job done right. And whether you're buying or leasing, they've got all the equipment, whether it's the big Doosan loaders or whether it happens to be Coyote tractors or the Bobcats. I mean, man, learning how to run one of those Bobcats and go out and clean your corrals, everything else, man, that is handy. You stop in and check it out today. 3 locations, Addison Avenue West in Twin Falls, South Lincoln and Jerome, and 159 West Highway 30 in Burley. The best. Barry Equipment and Rental, serving you. Linda Tripp. Do you remember that name? Linda Tripp. Remember the story of Monica Lewinsky and Wild Bill Clinton? Ah, yes, from the Monica Lewinsky scandal, Linda Tripp is the one that did quite a bit of crowing to the media and talking about this mess with the affair of Bill Clinton and Monica Lewinsky. And she has come out now, and I don't know what her motives are, other than she said she wants to make sure the American public is not duped into voting for Hillary. She said that Hillary does not have the integrity to be president of the United States, and she is ruthless, and she is very afraid about having Hillary become possibly the Democratic nominee and maybe become president. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Good morning, Zeb.
Yes, sir.
I have a daughter up in Boise that lives within hearing range, well, within just a little ways from the Methodist Church up in Boise. And the last day of Ramadan, early in the morning, here comes this sound of the morning prayer from the African Muslims. The Methodist Church allowed them to come over there and use their church and to do the I don't know what they call it, the chant on loudspeakers.
Yeah.
And they went throughout the whole neighborhood, not just that neighborhood, several. She asked the neighbor lady that attended that church what that was all about, and the neighbor lady told her that it was the African Muslims' last day of Ramadan, and they were doing the whatever.
Okay.
And anyhow, she was highly offended. Does that matter? As a Christian, that offended her.
Well,
you think we'll turn the world upside down?
You know, it seems, well, you know, it seems like, and I think I'm within the bounds of realistic sanity to say this, and I think you'll agree with me. It seems like this administration, it seems like this country, it seems like every part of the media is absolutely catering to and bending over backwards to promote the ideology of Islam, and doing everything on the other side of the coin, the left side of the coin, to go out and hurt Christianity and absolutely demonize people that stand up for the Christian faith. And I am very concerned because I see occurrences to where they're absolutely opening the door for Islam and the Muslims and shutting the door right in the face of Christianity in this country. And it's not just me. It's many, many people around the United States that have seen this, witnessed this, and it's very concerning.
What really concerns me is the attitude of some of these Christian churches.
Yeah.
They are accepting it and almost promoting it. And I don't know if they read their Bible or not, but boy, I'm not a crazy person, but if you read your Bible, this is an indication of the last days.
Yes, it is. And I'll tell you something else. Any Christian church, and I mean this sincerely, and this is my opinion, any Christian church that caters to and gives allowances to the Muslim faith and says that their God is the same as our God, that minister and that congregation should be ostracized as far as I'm concerned, because they know not what they speak.
Exactly, and I feel the same way. And there again, I can't say, you know, I did mention the name of this church, but it isn't the whole general church. It comes down to the leadership of that church. And whenever things happen like this, the people in that church, they should begin to ask questions and begin to put the leadership.
Well, it's more than asking questions and asking leadership. It's a demand. I mean, we have got, you know the Bible. I know the Bible fairly well. I'm not going to brag, but I've read the Bible many, many times, and quite frankly, there is no correlation between the two religions and or ideologies, none whatsoever. And I'm going to maintain as a Christian that we have to be very careful in these days, as you well know, because the more there's an acceptance, the more there will be a takeover. Would you agree or not?
I agree, and I not only the Bible, but I've read the life story of Muhammad, and
well,
my word, come on.
Well, the thing is, we're talking about an ideology that doesn't fit with our society, and quite frankly, I'm very concerned about the laxity of people to say anything. I got to run and do a commercial, but again, I appreciate your call. Thank you so much. Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation, 1263 Bennett Avenue, Suite 2 in Burley, right behind Dr. Crane's office, and easy to find and easy to call for an appointment. Now, here's what I want you to do. I want you to write this number down, 678-1191. Got it? 678-1191. They can help you get back to being and feeling like you. That's right. Whether you've had an injury or you just had some surgery and you need to exercise, they know all the exercises, all the sports medicine. They've got the hydrotherapy pool with the treadmill. Good heavens, what are you waiting for? Wonderful people that know how to help you get back to being you. Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation, 678-1191. Wow. I mean, the news just doesn't quit. We have now a crazy sign of the times. This is so nuts, I couldn't believe it. At the University of California, now listen closely to this. At the University of California, when students are filling out their student information forms to go to the office to keep in their files, now there are six gender possibilities that a student can check. Now, I got to go back to high school biology, and I got to go back to my talk with my dad, because I thought there were only two genders. Man, I must have missed something. Now the University of California is coming out and saying there are six possibilities. What? They've got male, female. Yeah, I'm with you so far. But then they end up having trans male, trans female, gender queer. I can't even remember the sixth one, nor do I care. Our society is falling apart at the seams with this stupid, underline that word, stupid liberal slant, this absolute liberal sleaze that's going on in this country. When are we going to stand up and say, nope, take a big eraser, and that's it? You play by our rules. There are two genders, male, female. The rest of you that have some doubt, boy, you got a heap of sitting down and thinking and pondering to do. Give me your thoughts on this. This is insane. 6 gender possibilities at the University of California. Man, I got to have a weather forecast. The weather this hour is brought to you by Mad River Lasers, 502 East Street in Rupert. Oh, did you go outside early this morning? Deanne did. And she put on a jacket, and what did you have on your stocking cap? Her stocking cap, it was a little chilly, and I said, no, come on. I stepped out the back door, and I said, you're right. Cooler temperatures mean sweatshirts, and at Mad River Laser, they've got all your sweatshirts, and the big names like Carhartt, Bernie, Nike, Gildan, Hanes, you name it, and they've got the back-to-school, the back-to-school hoodies on sale for $24.99, regular price $38.99, and they've got the hoodies, zip-up, and regular sweatshirts. Oh, my goodness, you better stop in and see them today, and you can have your name on them or your logo. Oh, man, what a job they do. Mad River Laser at 502 East Street in Rupert. And right now, here's the weather.
Here's your weather forecast as we do hit midweek. Sunny skies for today. A little bit on the breezy side, but a gorgeous day. High of 83, tonight low 50. Tomorrow, sunny skies. Going to be creeping up to about 90 degrees. And then as we work our way towards the weekend, partly to mostly sunny skies, highs are going to be in the low to mid 90s. And we can expect this high-pressure system to pretty much stick around for about the next 10 days. That's your weather forecast for Zeb at the Range.
Thank you, Gina. And don't forget the best to have all your business material done and your sweatshirts, T-shirts, caps. I mean, man, she does a great job. Nicole over at Mad River Laser, 502 East Street in Rupert. What? Honestly, come on. Somebody call me on this. Don't be embarrassed. Call me. This 6 genders to sit there and fill out on a college form. Let's see. What am I? Oh, gosh. Can you imagine giving 6 choices like that? We're nuts. We're crazy. This whole society is turned upside down. I mean, we started the program talking about the insidious, horrifying videos with Planned Parenthood. And then we talked about the FBI saying, no, we can't vet all of these refugees. We have no way. And then we talked about Hillary and no integrity, ruthless personality. And now here we are at a 6-choice gender possible admittance form to the University of California. Surely you've got some thoughts on that. Give me a jingle, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Oh, by the way, just when you think things can't get any crazier, the University of New Hampshire has issued, now listen to this carefully, a bias-free language guide. Yeah, the University of New Hampshire. Oh, yeah, one of those stalwarts of liberalism, which identifies the word as American as problematic and should not be used. What? I heard this morning and I about fell out of my chair. Yeah, the word American, according to the University of New Hampshire, is problematic because it assumes the United States is the only country inside land masses, North America, South America, and Central America, with the word America in their name. So they said that we should no longer use the term that we're Americans, or proud Americans, or have anything to do with America, and we should just say that we are a U.S. citizen or resident of the United States. Lee Greenwood is not going to have his song played anymore, probably. I'm proud to be an American. There's a lot of things. Oh, yeah, Kate Smith, my opening show song. God bless America. And it's going to stay there. And if somebody's offended, good. Then I've done my job. But, you know, here's what they want to do. They want to change at the University of New Hampshire many other words. They want to stop students from saying mother or father and avoid gendering in that regard. Here we go again with the gender. They want to stop the words healthy and handicapped, and the new terms that are only going to be accepted in the classroom are non-disabled. And listen to this, person who is wheelchair mobile. This is insane. Good morning, you're on the air.
I remember years ago when you filled out an application.
I need you to speak up, Keith. I need you to talk louder. I can't hear you.
Years ago, in an application for a job or anything else, it would have you put sex, meaning man or woman.
Yep.
And so often I thought, but yes. Well, this gender thing, why don't we answer that the same way?
I just can't imagine. I just can't imagine why we're allowing this garbage to happen. Let me give you another one that's so idiotic. At the University of New Hampshire now, they have banned the terminology senior citizen. Oh my, Keith, what are they going to call us? Now they're going to call us, at the University of New Hampshire, people of advanced age.
Well, I don't think we've advanced very much with the administration we've got now.
I am absolutely astounded by the stupidity of people, the taxpayers. And by the way, University of New Hampshire is a taxpayer-funded school, and they're offering a book that's coming out this fall that's called The Gender Pronoun Guide, and the right and the wrong words to use in different situations. Can you believe that taxpayers are paying for this garbage?
I don't know, but I wonder how long we can cook this frog.
There you go.
Before we stand up and do what we're supposed to do.
You're right on. Keith, thank you. And the analogy on the frog is well respected. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. The frog is getting much hotter, but he doesn't know it. Oh, my. Calls welcome, 436-2244. I could sit here every day and literally tear my hair out in the insanity that's going on in this country, and we're allowing it to happen. The majority of people don't want this garbage. I would hazard the guess that there is still well over 70% of Americans that are shaking their head and they're ashamed of what's going on. But that 70+% aren't doing anything. We're not raising our voices. We're not telling these idiots to sit down, shut up, and get back under the rock that they belong to live under. We're letting it happen. And like Keith said a minute ago, the frog's in the water, they're making it hotter, and we don't seem to care. I'll take some more calls after I calm down and talk about our Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. Oh my, they've got a lot of the great tires on sale for your cars and your light trucks and your SUVs. How about the strategy for your car? Year-round traction, 60,000-mile warranty. Good tires. Safe tires for all your driving needs. And don't forget, too, they've got the best in brake value promises. You know, I've had them work on my pickup and my car and my horse trailer brakes, and they are excellent. Professionally trained technicians, premium quality parts, they know what they're doing, along with all the front end alignments and the shocks and struts and the best in batteries. Yep, all 7 locations serving you with the best. Lane and Rupert, Dave on Blue Lakes and Twin, Mike and Buell, Mike and Jerome, the Twist family in Paul, John on Poline in Twin Falls, and Randy on Overland in Burley. Your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. Can you imagine, honestly, these kooks and crackpots at the University of New Hampshire issuing a language guide as to what is acceptable and what isn't acceptable? You know, earlier this summer, do you remember the University of California? I'm going to go back out there and pick on them again. The whole system, the university system in California, had a training faculty meeting that said they wanted to avoid various phrases. And one of the phrases that the administrators at the University of California system said is that no long would they include the description of America as a land of opportunity. This is crazy. Good morning, you're on the air.
Good morning. Who in the world ever came up with all of this political crap that they're forcing on us?
You know, wait a minute, right there, that's a good question. Who? I would like to meet the person that sat there with these big, thick, horn-rimmed glasses and thought that he was playing, or she was playing God, and starts to tell everybody what they can and can't say. I don't know about you, Lorna, but this even entices me to say more of what they don't like.
Really? I just cannot even fathom who could come up with all of this stuff. and they want to change all of society, everything that we have learned from the time we were babies.
Isn't it crazy?
It doesn't make sense.
It doesn't make sense, but you know what? And I mean this in the utmost respect to you and others. The people that are at fault for letting this get a toehold in our society is you and me. You know that. We've let this happen.
We've let it happen, like when they took prayer out of school.
Yep.
It was already done before I ever even heard about it.
Well, you know, and the thing is, with the words, and now at California University System, you can't say anymore that America is a land of opportunity. Lorna, tell me, real quick, I'm almost out of time, tell me another country anywhere in the world where you can go to college, you can graduate, you can pick your subject, you can pick your major, you can pick your future, and if you work hard, you can succeed. Where else is a land of opportunity?
There isn't, or else all of these people would not have come to the United States for their education.
Bingo. Lorna, so good to hear from you. Thank you so much.
Have a great day.
You too. God bless. You know, folks, I urge you not to be politically correct. I urge you to really antagonize the left. I urge you to really go up to liberals and just make their day a very rainy, bad day. Don't conform to this. This is pure idiocy. Going to take a break and come back with my good friend Dave Bego in Indianapolis, Indiana. Next hour, Zeb at the Ranch. Don't go away. I'll see you in 6. Oh my, here we go. Beautiful day outside, and the weather forecast sounds great for the rest of the weekend. Good morning, I'm Zeb Bell, Zeb at the Ranch, with our major sponsor, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, all 7 locations serving you. Thank you very much, Les Schwab. And don't forget some of our great advertisers like Valley White Home and Ranch, 910 South Oneida in Rupert. Everything, and I mean everything, for the farm, the home, and the ranch at Valley White Home and Ranch, and our friends at Western Waste Services.
From the canyons of the Snake River and all across southern Idaho, we're always at your disposal. Western Waste Services, we care about our community, our resources, and we bring them. Western Waste Services is lending a hand, always at your disposal.
My goodness sakes, Western Waste Services, always at your disposal. Call, get on the route service today, 734-6969. Get your garbage out of there. Don't forget they've got all the carts, dumpsters, roll-offs, porta potties, very important. And they can serve you, like I said, on that route service every week. They are phenomenal. Locally owned and operated, and always at your disposal. Western Waste Services, 734-6969. Hey, by the way, caller, I'll be there in just a moment. Don't go away. I'll be there, I promise. I want to remind you, too, Ted's Diesel and Electric moving to 635 21st Street in Heyburn, right there on Alfresco Road, owned by Doug Martin, one of the good old boys. And Doug can rebuild and has been rebuilding starters, alternators, and generators for a long time. And he also sells brand new. Don't forget, Ted's Diesel and Electric moving to 635 21st Street in Heyburn. And by the way, also, we want to mention our dear, dear friends, and I really look forward to always visiting with Joel Heward, manager of Hanson Mortuary, 710 6th Street in Rupert. He and his family and his staff, they are so community-oriented and so helpful. Please remember that name, Hanson Mortuary, and the number 436-5636. Always serving you and your families with the highest ethical standards with unquestioned integrity. Hanson Mortuary, 436-5636. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Yes, good morning. Getting back to that university deal, I think most people today are on this trip that they're headed for the Nobel Prize.
I think so too, Tony. I hate to be so rude to you, but I've got a guest in Indianapolis that's waiting, and I'll talk to you more about this later if I can. Call me back at a later time and let me know. Please, I want to visit with you more on this.
Okay.
Thank you. Right now, I've got to go to the phone lines because I've got a very, very dear friend on the line and waiting, and that's Mr. Dave Bego. Good morning in Indianapolis. How are you?
I'm doing great, Zeb, and I'm humbled to be talking to a Hall of Famer.
Thank you. That's very kind of you, Dave. I appreciate that. I was honored last week, and I was away from the program the next day, and I thank you for your kind remarks. That's very nice. Talk about Hall of Famer. I mean, man, before we get into the serious part of our conversation this morning, can you believe that we're only a few, like 4 to 5 weeks away from the NFL season? And what about your Indianapolis Colts this year?
Well, Zeb, I think they're going to be pretty tough, and I think there's a good opportunity for them to make it to the Super Bowl this year, but we'll see. You never know.
I've got the jersey. I will wear the jersey every day or every Sunday that they win. When I have you on the program, will wear the blue and white of the Colts. I promise.
Yeah, well, we'll be checking on you to make sure.
Okay. Dave, in all seriousness, I'm going to be talking to a lot of guests this morning, and I'm going to be basically asking them the same question. You're a businessman, entrepreneur. You have to work with and know how to handle and manage many, many people. But I have said earlier this morning that right now the United States, I believe, is in a state of degradation. We are letting evil preside over our lifestyles. We're letting evil take over aspects of our life, and we're hurting as a society, and I think that we really need to clean up our act before it's too late. What are your thoughts?
Well, Zeb, I feel exactly the same way, and I've told you before on the show, I believe, that I think this is a result of this administration and this president's statements when he first came in office. He's going to fundamentally change America, and I think he's accomplishing that, and America needs to wake up that, yeah, he may be a great orator, but when it comes to being a great president and running this country the way it should, and reducing our debt, getting people back to work, restoring the work ethic in this country, he's failed miserably.
Now, right there, you said something that I want you to elaborate on, because there again, with your expertise and your company and all the people you employ, how do we as a nation restore a work ethic and pride in people wanting to have a job, keep a job, and try to be an integral part of our society? How do you restore that?
Well, Zeb, I think it's pretty easy. We eliminate the government entitlement programs, except for those are very, 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 very needy in that. And force people to go out and take jobs and get the economy going again, and get off this kick that he has for raising minimum wage and overtime pay for certain groups of people and things like that. All things he's trying to do for what they term social justice, equality, but what it is socialism. And we need to do those things, and we need to do them quick. The other thing we need to do is we need to close the borders and shut off the flow that's coming across that is costing wages and jobs and destroying our economy, because, we have to pay for all these people through the subsidies and schooling and all that kind of stuff. And all these things, if they were enacted, we could start restoring America. And we need somebody like Trump in there, or Scott Walker, that understands that stuff and can get it done.
I couldn't agree more. I've got to ask you about a couple of weeks ago, Martin O'Malley made a statement that Black Lives Matter, White Lives Matter, all lives matter. And then all heck broke loose, and the group called Black Lives Matter demanded an apology for what he said. Now, I've had a higher education degree. You have had a higher education degree. Would you please explain to me what O'Malley said that was wrong when he said all lives matter?
There's nothing wrong with it. It's just the fact that these groups like to use these things And, you know, they try to make it look like there's prejudice in this country, which there isn't. I mean, are there prejudiced people? There is, and there always will be, which is unfortunate. But, you know, these groups get together, and it's just like the unions with the SEIU that I fought. They go out and they foment this thing. The president foments this thing with the, you know, statements he's made on inequality and prejudice in this country, and, you know, the police going after blacks all the time. And this is their mode of operation, and people need to understand that. Just like when I fought the SEIU, what they try to do is they try and pit people against each other and pit the employees against the customer, and they go out and they make all these false statements and lies and misinformation because they know most people in this country are naive and easily brainwashed. And we got to get people in office that get to the point and expose these people, like the two men I talked about earlier.
Absolutely. Now, I want to ask you this. This past couple of days, Obama was in Africa, and it looks like Mike Huckabee and Donald Trump have really got underneath the skin of Obama. And at a press conference over there, he made some very salty and negative remarks in their direction. What did you think of how the President of the United States responded at a news conference over in Africa regarding comments made by Huckabee and also Trump?
Well, Zeb, again, I'll go back to what I say. This is what they do, and you know, they're always on the attack, and what they're trying to do is intimidate you and get the other people to back down again. But I don't think they're going to get Trump to back down. Huckabee, I'm not so sure, but I don't think so. But you know, it's good to get under his skin, and we need politicians that will do more of that. And they need to do it in a professional way, but they need to put him on the defense all the time, and so he quits doing things to destroy our country.
Where are you now as far as your support? I'm amazed as to what Donald Trump has achieved. I'm amazed as to the numbers. I mean, 24, 25% right now, even after some issues that could have brought him down, like the statements on the border and also the statements about John McCain. They did not. Actually, his numbers are increasing. Where are you on the plight of all the GOP contenders? What do you think, and who do you think is going to emerge and still stay strong after the first debate?
Well, Zeb, you know, I think people like to hear the truth, and that wakes them up. And the only problem I have with Trump, I believe I've mentioned to you before, I wish he'd be just a little more polished about it. But I like the fact that he comes out and he exposes people. Walker does the same thing. Mm-hmm. You know, Cruz does to some degree, and so does Carson. But I think ultimately we want people that have run businesses or business-like governments, like, you know, Walker being a governor, who actually understand what it's all about to turn things around and restore the economic prosperity in this country. And so I ultimately think those two are going to be the top contenders.
Okay, now let's talk about one person that I know you don't want to see as president. I definitely don't want to see him get the nomination to be possibly a president, and that's Jeb Bush. When all this brouhaha was happening this week, Dave, with comments that were made by, of course, Donald Trump, comments that were made by Mike Huckabee, which, by the way, I support. I think Mike Huckabee was right on. The guy that stood up and said, oh, we've got to temper our remarks. Oh, we've got to be more moderate in our speech. Jeb Bush. And I don't see any manliness there whatsoever.
Well, again, this seems to be the position of the Republican Party. And, you know, I've talked to a lot of them, and I've tried to get them to understand that you have to go on the offensive and make the other side play defense. And, you know, being moderate doesn't get you more votes. It's like the border situation. I know a lot of Hispanic people that are here legally that would like to see the border controlled because they know the open borders are costing them money and jobs and all that, and they know it's hurting the economy here. And we need people like Walker and Trump that will stand up and explain that and do it in a way that is concise and direct and people understand it. And the Republican Party doesn't seem to want to do that. They just want to get along.
Yeah, well, let's talk a little bit more about that. Mitch McConnell, in my opinion, and tell me if I'm wrong, we're good enough friends. In my opinion, he's nothing more than a clone, nothing more than a mask of the old Harry Reid. We're seeing a dissolving of the two-party system. We're seeing a sponge attitude where the Republicans are basically soaking up exactly what the Democrats were doing. I don't see the two-party system anymore because I don't see any guts on behalf of the Republicans. How wrong am I?
No, you're exactly right, and this is why I've advocated for term limits, because I think we need term limits in this country so people aren't staying in Congress because they're getting paid well and good benefits and they like the lifestyle. We need people that go there that do the right things for the American people and then go back to work in the private sector. And, just going back to this minimum wage thing just a second, I meant to tell you when I was talking about that, when this is going into effect in Kansas City pretty soon, of course Seattle's done it and that. Do you know one of the things that came out this past week about it in Seattle? People up there don't want the minimum wage to go up. There's been a lot of outcry about it because you know why? Because they can stay on entitlement programs, and if it goes up to $15 an hour, they can't. They want their entitlement programs. That tells you where this country's at.
So we're in the middle of a, pardon the expression, but it's the way it is, damned if we do, damned if we don't, and these people, these absolute radicals that are trying to raise the minimum wage, and then all of a sudden they find out that they're going to get cutbacks on their welfare checks, etc. I mean, our society is so dependent on the giveys and the wannabes, I don't see how we can ever correct it, even with a conservative president.
Well, Zeb, I think we can with the right president. Now, granted, he's going to have a tough road to hoe because all these people in the Congress are, they don't want to do anything to offend anybody. But it's time that they woke up and understand that we have to do these things as a country. And I think you need strong leaders to do that. And, you look at Scott Walker. He came into the governorship there, and he had to convince all the people in their state Congress and, to go along with him and get things done, and he did it. I think if we have the right person in the White House, we can do it.
I hear you saying a lot, like I am. Trump, Walker, those are my two favorites. And am I hearing also that you would really like to see that kind of a ticket to support?
I think it would be a great one. I like Ben Carson, too. I just don't know if he has quite the charisma and personality to get out there and do it. But I would like to see him involved somehow. And I think he would be. Those three guys and Cruz, they can get things done. All
right, now, let's go to the other side of the aisle, and it hurts me to do this because I don't even like talking about this woman, but Hillary Clinton. Oh, by the way, if you didn't hear, Linda Tripp, and I'm sure you remember good old Linda from the Monica Lewinsky days, she has come out now and said Hillary must never be president. She lacks the integrity, and she is ruthless. Boy, she solidifies exactly what I thought about the old girl. What are your thoughts?
Oh, absolutely. I read that article, and and it's interesting when if you read the article close, Tripp said that Hillary I will do what I want, and then when I'm questioned, I'll say oops or bureaucratic snafu, and then after a couple months, her refrain will be, "This is old news. It's been investigated. I did nothing wrong. Let's move on." And again, these are one of the perfect tactics of the far left. You see it with the president. You see it with the union leaders and stuff like that. They like to go out and do things and throw things out there and all that kind of stuff. But when it comes time to standing up to stuff like that, oh, no, that's old news and stuff like that. And that's why, and this is why I think people like Trump and Walker have a good chance. Because when they're in debates, they will challenge people like Hillary and other people like this, and expose them for what they really are. That's what Romney should have done in 2012.
I agree. And I said this even though it's speculative, and it may never happen, but honestly, I said the other day on the air I would write a huge check just to have a seat in the auditorium to watch the body language and listen to the language between a debate of Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton. Wouldn't that be fascinating?
Yes, it would. It would definitely be worth being there for. And but the thing is, I'm not sure she's even going to make it through the primary. I think with everything that's going on, she may be eliminated or drop out before it's over with, even though her main objective in life is to be president.
Yeah, but right there, though, Dave, she's got a couple of aces up her sleeve that no other political candidate has right now, and that is the love affair with the media. They absolutely will not pursue anything. They won't absolutely try to uncover anything, and whether it's Benghazi or whether it has anything to do with the missing emails, her integrity is totally lacking. She is ruthless and should never be president, but yet she is the flagship right now for the Democratic Party.
Yeah, and it's all because of, she's a woman, and they all believe that they can get a woman elected, the first woman president, so they're betting their money on that. And the media, of course, they want the back and support of the female population in this country. And, I wish Hillary Clinton was a good candidate, but she's not. And we got to look at people not for what they are, what their gender is, or their social background, or their, whether they're black or white or Hispanic and that. What we got to look at is, are they good people? Because that's what we need running this country.
Absolutely. Real quick, I've only got a couple of minutes left in this segment, Dave, but I did want you to respond. The absolutely insidious, horrifying videos about Planned Parenthood and the evil that this administration is still supporting them, I think all the money should be pulled. There should be a complete investigation, and hopefully Planned Parenthood will go by the wayside. What are your thoughts?
Oh, I'm absolutely agree with you on that. I've questioned Planned Parenthood for years, and I'm not surprised at all about this. You look at this, and these are people that don't care a lot about life at all. And here's the other part, and I was talking to my wife about this last night as I was watching some of the videos, is that what a lot of people don't realize, this is part of the far left agenda, though. And part of the far left agenda is world depopulation. They want to control population growth, and they want to reduce the population in the world because it goes along with their tenet that, social justice, we can control people if there's not as many out there, and environmental concerns that, we're ruining the planet and all those type of things. And, things like Planned Parenthood just fit into their agenda.
Absolutely. Dave, real quick, you're the author of The Devil at My Doorstep, The Devil at Our Doorstep, and write a great blog every week. Anything you want to tell us, anything coming up that you're writing more material that we should be aware of?
I missed that last part. You kind of blanked out.
I'm sorry. Are you writing anything more that we should be aware of? Any books in the process? Anything else that we need to be cognizant of?
No, just my blogs, and I've been so busy lately I haven't had a chance to do many of those, but hopefully I'll get back on that and be writing some more on this campaign and some of the things that are going on in the White House and some of the things with the SEIU and that. But right now we're just pretty busy, and plus, I don't know, my dad just had a pacemaker put in yesterday, so we've been dealing with him for the last 10 days, and he came through good, and we're happy for that.
Oh, God's blessings to your father. And if there's any opportunity that you may go west, young man, let me know, and I'll hand deliver a case of wine I owe you.
I will hold you to that.
Okay. Dave Vigo, God bless you, man. Thanks for being on the program.
Thank you, and you have a great day.
All right, great discussion. Dave Vigo, Indianapolis, Indiana, one of my dear, dear friends. Really appreciate him. Oh, my. Hey, don't forget what's coming up next week at the Jerome County Fair and Rodeo. Whoa, they're going to have a ripping good time. Tomorrow we're going to be talking to the fair manager over at Jerome. And next Monday they're going to start things off with a great big horse show at 8:30 in the morning, and then they're having all kinds of judging going on. And then Tuesday, of course, my goodness sakes, the goat show, the rabbit show, the poultry show. And next Tuesday, the 4th, 5th, and 6th, PRCA Rodeo right there at the Jerome County Fairgrounds. And then on Friday night, they're going to have that pig wrestling and tug of war. And then on Saturday the 8th at 7 p.m., the monster trucks. All of this and more at the Jerome County Fair and Rodeo for 2015, August 3rd, all the way through the 8th. Don't you miss it. Going to be a lot of fun. Hey, too, don't forget, if you want to have fun outside, you just want to get away from everybody, you want to get away from the phones, you want to get away from the TV, everything, check on the ATVs, all the four-wheelers over at Let's Ride, and get lost. Get lost. Have yourself a good time out in Mother Nature. Let's Ride, 270 Highway 24 between Rupert and Hayburn. Yep, where the fun is sold, and they'll help you get lost. I don't mean that figuratively. I mean, come on. But they've got everything over there, all the watercraft, and you can go to the lakes and the rivers and a big puddle of water and have all kinds of fun. And don't forget all the ATVs and all the accessories and a great service department, too, at Let's Ride, Highway 24 between Rupert and Hayburn. Yep, where the fun is sold. I think a lot of those folks. We're going to have a dear friend of mine on the air in just a moment. And I'm looking forward to our conversation, so stay tuned for that, Pastor Alex Lissau, in just a moment. Don't forget, too, Cameron and Siemens Insurance, Highway 24 in Rupert. Yes, sir, all your life insurance, health insurance, retirement planning, employee benefits, all that and more. They really take care of you. They're very accessible and devoted to serving you and your future. Call for an appointment today, 436-4424, Cameron and Siemens Insurance. You get a hold of them today. Let's go to the phone line right now, and as I said, I am honored to have the friendship of this man and his lovely wife, and I just wish they would not have moved out of this area. We miss them, and good morning to Pastor Alex Lissau. How are you?
Great, Zeb. Good morning, and God bless you. Good to hear your voice.
Oh, my goodness. I wished you were here in the studio and we could have one of our many, many past conversations, but I'm so glad that you are on the air with me this morning, and I will start our conversation by saying this. I've mentioned it to a couple of my guests already this morning, and I will mention it to you because it's the way I feel. I feel that right now the United States of America is in a state of degradation never, ever had before by this country. Would you agree?
I would agree with you completely. I think we're in a state of downhill. You know, the slippery slope has become even more slippery than it ever has been as far as during my lifetime anyway. It drives me crazy to see the imposition of the courts and the federal government upon the lives of the people in this country in this concept of a one-size-fits-all kind of thinking. And you know, I don't disagree with the fact that laws apply across the board for people. But, you know, we get to the point where we're going to create all kinds of laws to protect the interests of certain groups, and that's fine. But why force everybody to join into the same, well, in my view, prurient kinds of thinking? So I'm really disappointed with what's going on. I'm 69 years old, soon to be 70, and I think to myself, what has happened to my country? You know, and it's just, it drives me crazy.
Let's break this down into some segments of conversation and start, first of all, with Planned Parenthood. After I saw the first video with the insidious and horrifying nature of the conversation and also what they were discussing with the baby parts, etc., so barbaric, and then another video came out, and then another video came out about the time that I just thought our character and our culture couldn't steep any lower. Well, this administration is in support of their evil and absolutely will do nothing to say negativity about Planned Parenthood. What are your thoughts?
Well, you know, It is devastating in thought to me that what we would have in our society is a public display of support for an organization that particularly focuses on the destruction of the unborn. To me, I think everything, life begins at conception. That's the way I see it. That's the way I've been taught. That's the way that God's Word teaches it to me. And so the most basic tenet of life itself, Scripture tells us that God knew us when we were in our mother's wombs. Immediately that's life in my view. And it's interesting to me that we live in a society where you can be arrested and thrown in jail for stepping off the walkway in Yellowstone National Park and stepping on something that would be considered a conservational plant growing in the dirt there, and you could be arrested for doing that kind of a thing. But at the same time, we can proliferate the concept of abortion and even selling body parts of babies. It's unbelievable that we have gotten this immoral in our society. I cannot understand how we. And I praise those people who took the videos, that took these, because these things need to be exposed. And the statistics tell us that increasingly we see, and this is good news, I think, increasingly we see a movement toward protection of life, of the unborn. Although what I've seen says that the numbers are very, very slightly over the 50 percentile. More people believe in the protection of life than are for supporting abortion. But that number is not that great that we have this overswelling push in that direction. But it's dramatically, to me, a society, a people who is willing to destroy its own unborn, while at the same time importing people from other countries by the millions. We're destroying our nation from the standpoint of that side of it, but we're also destroying life itself. How can we do this consciously and protect other things in this society that don't even compare to the life of a child?
Well, I will say this, and this is my own opinion, and I will not back off. I look at this administration, and I look at this so-called president, Barack Hussein Obama, and I look back at 2007, before he was elected as president, and he was a senator from Illinois. And I look at his stand on partial birth abortion, and I look at what he was willing to allow in the Chicago hospitals with partial birth abortion. I had one of the nurses that was in Chicago hospital, and the edicts were on partial birth abortion: if they're not dead when we lay them on the gurney, push the gurney into a closet space and let the baby expire. And I point my finger at Obama and I say that you are insidious and heinous for what you supported.
No question. And in fact, what is almost gagging to me is the other day, as I heard a quote, actually a recording of a quote that he actually says, "God bless Planned Parenthood." Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? I cannot believe it that he would expect God to bless an organization that participates in the eradication of children, of babies. 45 to 50 million, and that's what we can record of lives taken since the abortion law was passed in the 70s. And today I'm thinking to myself, how many lives have gone, because there could have been tremendous contributions to this society. How many lives of those little babies was that one child that was the one that could cure cancer, or the one that could find a scientific way to do things, or whatever it might be, even if it might even be a pastor, for Pete's sakes, and it just amazes me. It amazes me that we can have a leader in this country that can think that way.
Pastor, have we, in your opinion, and I said this earlier this morning and I'll say it again, I don't often agree with Bill O'Reilly with some of the verbiage and some of the way he handles his guests, but last night I will agree in his terminology that we are, and possibly can't turn away from, the fact that we are turning into a barbaric society. Would you agree with that?
Well, sure. I think we're not only barbaric in the sense of certainly of abortion and taking lives, but I think we're barbaric in many other ways. I mean, we've reverted backwards instead of going forwards, and I think a lot of that has to do with the loss of faith and proper teaching and raising of our children, and I'm amazed by Dennis Prager, who, by the way, was one of the speakers at this renewal project that I went to, that I'm sure we'll talk about a little bit later here. But he spoke of the fact, and he made a statement. He says one of the worst things that parents can do today is to send their children to institutions of higher learning, and he was not talking about the Christian or the private schools that specialize, but more or less public institutions of higher learning, because of the propaganda and the mind bending that results of that. And then we see it in our society today. I mean, the percentages of people who support what I would call the American way are not there anymore. What's happened to us? And maybe they are, but we don't see it. Maybe we're not hearing the news media uplifting those people who are 100% behind the moralistic strength of America and the Founding Fathers' concepts. But in my heart, I see these struggles and I see these difficulties, and it's hard. I pray every day that God will help us in this area, but it's hard to hear the news and see the things going on around us in our society, and to hang on to that hope that we have in Christ.
I wanted to get into this next subject because it really, in my opinion, we have a caller. I'll get into that next subject in just a moment. Caller, real quick with your question for Pastor Lissau. Go ahead, please.
This is scripture for the pastor. Recently, TV Land, which has always been kind of a wholesome show, has come out with this segment of the Impastor. Have you heard of this?
Yes, I saw the advertisements for that program, and I'm sitting in the living room watching a little bit of TV after a late Bible study one night, and that ad came on, and I looked at my wife and I said, "What in the blazes is going on, for Pete's sakes?" And this gets to the gay issue as you're talking about, and an imposter pastor, and I'm thinking to myself, we've completely lost our. I probably say this more than I should, but I say it all the time anymore. I think we've completely lost our minds.
Absolutely.
Where are we going? I mean, we've got news, television, media, and shows and programs. Some of the reality. It is just absolutely crazy.
All right, caller, thank you very much for your call. I've got to get into the next subject. Pastor, I wanted to talk to you about what I thought was just nothing more than bowing to pressure, capitulation, and caving in. And that's the Boy Scouts in now allowing gay men to be the leaders. I think it's absolutely going to be the destruction of the Boy Scouts, and possibly rightfully so, because they weakened, and they were, I thought, a moral bastion of authority, but they caved in. What are your thoughts?
Well, Zeb, I think you were in the room here some months ago, almost over a year ago now, in which the issue of the Boy Scouts came up. And as you remember, my stance on signing the Boy Scout charter for the scout troop that we were supporting at that particular time was that I wasn't going to sign the charter because of the fact that the Boy Scouts were trying to impose their authority upon the church, demanding that we receive and accept whatever kind of people that they thought we should receive into the program. And particularly the focus was on gay children. And the issue was raised that I was somehow a bigot because I was standing up for what was scripturally true and proper. And I said, I don't hate gays in any sense of the word. But how does a child at that age, the Cub Scout age and the Boy Scout age, even know what that is? And the other part of my issue was that it wasn't an issue of whether I was willing to accept and teach and nurture and try to help these young children, because that had nothing to do with it. What the whole problem for me was that the Boy Scouts were going to dictate to the church what we were going to do in terms of having a Boy Scout troop, a religiously supervised and sponsored Boy Scout troop. Well, as you probably recall, that conversation, it didn't turn out really positive. There was a lot of depression in the discussion with people, but we moved on from that. And I think you might recall that I said this is just the beginning.
Yep.
Because the day is coming when the camel will put its nose under the tent, which it did in that particular issue, and something is going to happen that we're going to be forced into looking at the greater picture, and that is that the LBGT organization's not going to stop at that point, not just going to be satisfied with that particular issue. At the same time, the body of Christians that I belong to, the president of our body, sent out a notice that he had had a conversation with the head of the Boy Scouts of America, and between them they had established a memorandum of understanding in which the Boy Scouts of America agreed that they would not impose any authority upon the church. The church still had the right to accept or not accept based upon the circumstance, and although understanding that we were not going to be prejudiced or that we were not going to be against race, religion, those kinds of things. And that agreement then gave me the confidence that I still had the authority in the church to say no if it was tried to be forced upon me, and I went ahead and signed the charter at that point. But I also said that look out, because something else is going to come. It's not going to stop here. Yeah, well, here it is. And I hate to say I told you so, but guess what? I told you so. This was going to happen, that was not going to be the end of it, that there was going to be a push to incorporate the need and the demand for us to have gay adult scout leaders. Now, I know that in recent news I've been hearing that the LDS Church is up in arms over this, and they're they're getting ready to put out a statement as to what to do. And I just recently, within a couple of days ago here, received another notice from our head of our body, the president of our body, that said, at this particular time, there's a lot of issues that we're going through them and reviewing them, but it appears that we need to be prepared as the body of Christians as to how we're going to deal and handle this situation, because now it's gone beyond, unless there's another memorandum of understanding. And there's some discussion in there about the fact that the church will still have its authority to do this and that. But you know what? Again, we're on that slippery slope.
Yep.
For every 2 steps we take forward, we wind up sliding 3 steps down.
Yeah, and I want to...
It's a matter of time before we're going to be at the bottom of the heap once again saying, what in the world has happened?
Yeah, absolutely. And I want to interrupt right there and say that it's already in the works, because the Human Rights Campaign, a national LGBT rights organization, said the Boy Scouts should not allow church-sponsored units to continue excluding gays. And a quote from one of the people, discrimination should have no place in the Boy Scouts, period. They're going to go after the churches. People are naive and basically stupid if they think the gays are going to let this issue lay without filing discrimination charges.
Well, and I agree with you 100%. That's the same thing I heard, and that it isn't stopping, that there's another push already generated, and already a group of people within the LBGT community that are building up another case against the church having any power to say no. I think that also flows into that whole concept that we've been talking about with regard to gay marriage. Does the church have the right to say no to somebody that walks in off the street and says, we like the looks of this building and we would like to have a wedding here because we think the pictures that we have after our wedding is going to be beautiful, and those kinds of things. And where do you have the right to say yes and no? I mean, I battle this issue in my heart all the time, and I've come to the conclusion when it gets to that point, we're just not going to do weddings anymore. We'll just send everybody off to get married somewhere else, and we'll solemnize those things, but later on in a special blessing kind of a ceremony in the church. But where do you go from here? And again, this goes back to what you and I were talking about just a minute ago, and that is the government and the Supreme Court's imposition dictating to us this one-size-fits-all. You must do this. Protect the rights of people. Go ahead and do that. But don't force me to do something that's against my rights.
That's right.
My freedoms. And
that's right.
And what I've been raised and taught and what I believe and willing to stand and die for.
Pastor, I'm going to ask your indulgence and patience while I do a weather forecast. Please stay on the line. I'll be right back with more with Pastor Alex Lissau. The weather this hour is brought to us by some really good friends with great food and super entertainment. Duck Uglies at 163 West Highway 30 in Burley. Oh my goodness, the best of delicious meals. Friday night special, the ribeye steak special. Oh, and on Saturday nights, the delicious mouth-watering ribs, along with all the other great menu choices. You're going to love the food, and you're going to love the entertainment. Boy, did they get some good pickers and grinners and singers in there at Duck Ugly's, 163 West Highway 30 in Burley. And right now, here's Gina with the weather.
Here's your weather forecast as we do hit midweek. Sunny skies for today, a little bit on the breezy side, but a gorgeous day. High of 83, tonight low of 50, tomorrow sunny skies. Going to be creeping up to about 90 degrees, and then as we work our way towards the weekend, partly to mostly sunny skies, highs are going to be in the low to mid 90s, and we can expect this high pressure system to pretty much stick around for about the next 10 days. That's your weather forecast for Zeb at the Ranch.
And thank you very much to Duck Ugly, 163 West Highway 30 in Burley. Great meals, great entertainment, great environment at Duck Ugly's. And they're at 163 West Highway 30 in Burley. Pastor Alex Lissau, a very dear friend, is on the air with me this morning, and we're talking about the degradation of the United States of America. You know, Pastor, I said earlier also that when you turn around every single day, there is another chink in the armor. There is somebody that wants to do something that is nothing more than promotion of evil. And looking at what happened to the Boy Scouts, they withered in the wind. And Bob Gates, their president, basically capitulated because he was afraid of more lawsuits. And we're looking at the gender problems. Like I commented earlier this morning at the University of California system, right now they've got six different boxes to check for gender possibilities. This is insane what's happening in our country.
Yeah, it is insane. And as I said, I think sometimes we've lost our minds, and where does it come from? I think, today we have a broader sense of communication than we probably had in my lifetime. You've got Twitter, and you've got Facebook, and you've got all kinds of different email opportunities. You've got all kinds of television things going on. You've got all kinds of access to information, and it's from moment to moment. And so we're flooded with things we may not have seen in past years, and it's gotten to the point where I'm sure that some people simply want to say, look, I've had enough of this. I'm not interested, and I don't want to hear it anymore. And they turn off the radios and they go off. But just because you're not listening to it doesn't mean it's not happening. And then all of a sudden one day you wake up and you go outside and you say to yourself, what's happened to my country? What's happened to my church? What's happened to the people in my neighborhood? What's happened to my children? What's happened to my family? And we see this all around us, and it's just and we allow the institutions that we're paying good money for, and the government is supplementing and subsidizing. They're doing whatever they will please on the basis of their idea of what is politically correct in their promotion. In fact, I was even listening this morning to this whole concept of we shouldn't be calling ourselves Americans because somehow that offends the South Americans, the nation of South America. I just nuts.
All right, we've got a caller with a question. Quickly, caller, please. You're on the air.
Yes, I don't remember who it was, but maybe it was in a speech, and maybe Ted Cruz said this when he announced his, he was going to run for president, that he said 50% of Christians did not vote in the last election, or something to that effect, something close to that. And I said, see, when we choose to withdraw ourselves from the social, the social conversation, then we leave a void. And the void is always going to be filled by something, if we're as Christians who care and are responsible. The void is always going to be something worse. See, we cannot ignore it anymore, like you're saying. It's just not working, and I'll hang up.
He brings up a good point, Pastor, and really all of us that call ourselves Christians, all of us that call ourselves part of the moral majority, really it's our fault that this has happened in this country because we have not spoken up. Would you agree with that?
Absolutely. In fact, Randy's absolutely right. This American Renewal Project that I went to, and I think the statistics he was talking about were, and I'm trying to remember exactly, but I think the number was something like 80 million evangelical Christians who could have voted. 40 million of them, half of them, did not did not vote, and 20 million of them didn't even show up out of the 80, didn't even show up at the polls, didn't even register to vote. And I don't remember exactly how those numbers all worked out, but those are striking numbers when you think about it. And as what's going on with that whole concept of if we don't stand up and say no. You know, it was interesting. I went to a meeting here a few months ago over in the Boise area with our other pastors, and the teaching that was being presented, they showed a little video clip of an old Bob Newhart TV show. And it's kind of a comical thing. This woman comes in. Of course, Bob Newhart was playing the part of a psychiatrist or psychologist, and his show there, his regular show. And this woman goes in and sits down with him, and she begins to tell him this problem and that problem and this problem and that problem. And he finally says, "I have one word for you." And actually, it was more than one word, but he says, "I've got one word for you." And she said, "What is that?" He said, "Stop it. Just stop it." And while it was hilarious, I thought to myself, that's really the appropriate word for our society, the times that we're living in. We need to stand up as Christians and as moral people and say, stop it. We don't fight these things. And as far as I'm concerned, you could just get rid of everybody in Washington. It's just, I'm amazed at what's going on back there. Who's standing up for the people of this country? Who's standing up for the moral majority of this country? Who's standing up for anybody that has a desire to see things right and proper anymore?
Well, and I've only got about 3 minutes left in this segment, and I want to quickly also get into the fact, look at the capitulation by the news media, our government, etc., in the allowing and the prospering of Islam in this country over Christianity. They've kind of taken a dust broom and a dustpan and swept the Christians under the carpet, and they're making room for everybody else to basically come in and promote and take over. Would you agree with that or not?
Well, I do agree with that. I think what we've done is we've exchanged one organization for another. I mean, what we've decided to do is we've decided that we're going to uplift them and at the same time put down Christianity and others. And for me, I don't understand why we can't do both. Why we can't have everybody have that. Isn't that the foundation of this country, that we were given the right to worship the God of our choosing in the way we want to? I don't care if they want to worship their God, but why impose their requirements on me in my school, in my dining halls, in my church? Why the imposition of why does the government say I must do as they like and they want? And I'm saying, have at it. Do what you want to do. Practice as you practice. Live as you want to live. But don't impose that upon me. Don't force. And the argument is that you guys, you Christians, you're evangelicals. You go out there and you try to proselytize, and all we do is witness Christ. If you can take it or leave it, you have the freedom to accept or reject anything I have to say, and I want to have that same freedom with regard to anything else.
Last note, you're way up there in Ashton, and we miss you so much down here in the Magic Valley. I hope things are going well for you and Barbara.
Well, Zeb, we miss you guys too. We have some very dear friends down there. We love you with all our heart, and there's times that I sit back and lament in not being there because of the friends that we have. But these folks up here are absolutely precious. I'm serving. I'm supposed to be retired, as you know, but I took on this calling to come up and serve two little congregations. There are about 25 people per congregation, one in St. Anthony and one here in Ashton. And I split time between the two, and they are precious, precious people. They're wonderful, godly people who support us very well, and just the kindest, wonderful people. And it reminds me of those that are so dear to us down there in that area as well.
I want to say the very best to a dear friend. God bless you, Pastor Alex Lissau. Thank you for all your concern and your verbiage this morning. It was very much appreciated. Please come back in the future.
Well, let me just say to you and to your members, the people who are listening to you every day and support your program, and God bless you all. Pray for America. Please pray for America.
There you go.
God's intervention.
Absolutely.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Pastor Alex Lissau on the phone with us, a dear friend, and everything he said I absolutely agree with. We're going to take a little break, and coming up next hour, another good friend, Dr. Adrian Arp, is going to be here in the studio. Boy, have we got a lot to talk about. Don't go away. I'll be right back after this break. Welcome back, Zeb at the Ranch, and a good morning to you and your family. Third hour, Zeb at the Ranch. I'm Zeb Bell with our major sponsor, your Magic Valley, Les Schwab Tire Centers, and, of course, all 7 locations serving you. Service is the key word at your Magic Valley, Les Schwab Tire Centers. And don't forget some of our great advertisers, like Western Way Services, always at your disposal. Get on the route service. Your garbage is gone, and they can take care of you. Locally owned and operated, 734-6969. And last but not least, Valley White Home and Ranch. Everything for the farm, the home, and the ranch with some really good people at Valley White Home and Ranch, 910 South Oneida in Rupert. Oh, and by the way, Ted's Diesel and Electric is moving to a brand new location, 635 21st Street in Heyburn, owned by Doug Martin. I'll tell you what, this man is good. He can rebuild starters, alternators, generators, and also sells brand new. Doug Martin is moving Ted's Diesel and Electric to 635 21st Street in Heyburn. Oh, my, and by the way, it's that time of the morning when the mid-morning crunchies get a hold of you and you get a little bit hungry. Well, right now I'm starved to death, and here is one of my favorite meals at the Chadwick Sports Grill, 139 West Main in Burley, and that's, of course, today's special, stuffed meatloaf, served with a choice of side, veggies, and super salad. I love meatloaf. I did. My mother made some great meatloaf years ago, and it's all there available for you at the Chadwick Sports Grill, 139 West Main in Burley. Really, really good folks. Microphone is open and ready to accept the voice of our guest for this next hour, and that's, of course, Dr. Adrian Arp. Good morning, sir. How are you?
Good morning, Zeb.
Now, it's been a while since you've been on the program.
It has.
And I guess you've been busy with your agricultural business for the last couple of months.
It's that time of year. I mean, it's been an interesting year. As they all are. Weather was real cold, and then it's real hot, and then it's below normal. Looks like we're going to be above normal. So it's just, the weather, the extremes, the average is the mean of the extremes.
Absolutely. You're not here to talk about agriculture, and you're not here to talk about crops. We're here to talk about our society in general and what is going on in the United States of America. As you well know, you listen to the program every day. I have been very vocal, and I led the charge on this when it first started to come to the knowledge of this area, that the College of Southern Idaho is going to be involved in the refugee program. I've been against the program. I know, for a matter of fact, of many of the people I've talked to that are connected with the FBI and also many of the think tanks on the East Coast, that these refugees are not vetted. They really do not know who they are and what they represent, and it's of a concern. But yet the College of Southern Idaho has basically said, oh, no, contraire. The Times News has come out and called us ignorant for even asking the questions and wondering why this is being done. What are your thoughts about this refugee program and the College of Southern Idaho?
Well, Zeb, the bottom line is that because there is no real screening and vetting, even a congressional committee concluded that just recently, and so there's a real security concern because ISIS is being very successful. We just had another situation on the news this morning where a guy was going to have a backpack bomb and in Florida, I believe it was, with full of nails, which would have caused all kinds of problems.
Absolutely.
And they undercover people, but so the recruiting, the FBI has almost admitted that they can't keep up with this. And so they're using the internet. They're bringing these, ISIS has also said, in addition to that they're going to be using the refugee program to bring in their jihad terrorists. I mean, folks, those two things alone should say, we really don't want these refugees to come in here and destroy our communities.
Let's establish something right now. I have never heard you, in all the years that I've known you, say anything that you were totally against refugees being aided and abetted coming to this country, nor have I. But right now, under the circumstances of what's happening across the world, with all the jihadists and all the bombings, all the terrorists, all the beheadings, all the shootings, shootings, all the killings, I think that this nation, the United States of America, must be very, very careful about how they do the process and who they let in. Would you agree with that?
Absolutely. And the big thing that comes out all the time is that as Christians, we try to be benevolent. We try to help those that are in distress and have problems. But there's a problem with Islam. Islam is a political ideology, really hiding behind a facade of religion. And as Shahram Hadian has pointed out...
And by the way, you might explain who he is and what he was doing here.
He spoke both at Filer to 135 people on Monday night, and again last night to an estimated 400 people at the East Side Baptist Church just up from Kmart last night. And so over 500 people have heard him. He is a convert to Christianity 15 years ago. His family escaped from Iran just before the Ayatollah Khomeini took over and implemented Sharia law after the Shah of Iran was kicked out, so to speak. And his family came over here when he was like 10 years old and lived in this country as a refugee and converted to Christianity. And he's quite an evangelist. I've heard him now in 3 different presentations in the last 2 days. I can tell you that he's concerned about, he knows firsthand because he's lived under those circumstances. He saw what Sharia law was like in Iran, what was coming, the freight train coming down the track.
Let me ask you this question, and this is a question that I think will set the tone for the rest of our hour here this morning. What was his basic theme? What was his basic message, and what is his number one fear for America?
His number one fear is Islam is evil. The Muslim people are good people, but Islam, those that follow the teachings of Islam, are evil. I mean, that because their only salvation is to commit jihad. That's their salvation. How do they get to heaven? As opposed to Jesus Christ dying for our sins and atoning for our sins. Their heaven depends on them basically following the Quran. And if you read the Quran, he went through verse after verse, and not only in Filer, basically there were 2 different presentations, but verse after verse pointing out that Islam in the Quran basically will very pointedly says that in order for you to, if you don't convert, you basically take care of the opposition. Now, here's the kind of thing that happens. So he's saying the main thing is a security issue. We just talked about that. That's the one thing we want to really emphasize on. Yesterday noon, there was a luncheon for security people. They were invited from this whole Magic Valley region. How many showed up, you suppose, for a luncheon yesterday?
I have no idea.
None.
None?
Zero, folks. Our security people here aren't concerned about the possible jihad terrorists coming or being recruited with these Syrians. I'm sure a lot of the Syrians are legitimate Muslims coming here. The other thing is they're not bringing in Christians that are being killed in this whole situation. It's Muslims that are coming in here. Now that's really interesting in itself. But his message is that Islam is evil and that we have a real security problem with these refugees. In addition to just the 2,000 are already here, some might be converted by the internet if they're strong Quran followers. A lot of the Muslims don't read the Quran. They're just good people, and he says, I'm one of them. He says most Muslims are very good people. But when they get radicalized, and that's the whole deal. When they get radicalized with the Quran, if you follow the Quran, and he said he was scared to death of death. he was scared to death of dying as a Muslim because they have no salvation.
And you talk about some of the good people. Caller, I'll be right there. I promise I'll get you right on the air. But I'm not going to say he's a good friend, but he's a friend of mine. And you've seen him on television on numerous occasions, and that's Dr. Zuhdi Jasser. And Dr. Jasser has been on my program 3 or 4 times in the last couple of years. He is a Muslim, and he has sounded the clarion call of danger as to what's going to happen in this country if we don't tighten down the screws on the immigration process.
Absolutely.
We have a caller with a question. Go ahead, caller, please.
Good morning, Jeff. Hey, my question is the security deal that you were just talking about. I'm in and out of my trust. I might have missed this. I'm a citizen of this here United States, and I'm a citizen of Idaho. I consider myself to be part of security. I see something that is happening that should not happen. I put it upon myself to intervene. Is there something out there that I can help as far as security goes? Just keep right on doing what I'm doing and keep an eye out.
It's a good question, and I'm going to have Adrian respond to that over the air. And I appreciate that because we're going to be talking about citizen involvement. Thank you, Riley. I appreciate that. How would you respond to answer that question, Adrian? And was it addressed with Pastor Hadian when possibly he talked about our involvement, the common rank and file, getting together and doing something about this problem? What did he suggest?
Well, number one, we need to be working through our various churches with our pastors, our congregations, and there's a luncheon today in Twin Falls that's specially invited for pastors. Hopefully there will be a bunch show up because, in other words, we need to work with our churches to understand what this problem is. The problem, and in addition to that, we need to be camping on our elected officials, our security people, our sheriffs, your Cashua County Sheriff, Twin Falls Sheriff, Jerome County Sheriffs, all of these security people, because obviously if we don't, they take an oath to protect us, and if we allow this CSI refugee program to go through and they bring these people in, 300 is just the tip of the iceberg. He mentioned that there's 65,000 that are slated to come into the United States. Certainly we won't get all of those. You realize there's already 11,000 Muslims in the Boise area. CUNA, as you probably heard on the news, just found out that they're going to set up a whole cultural center, and they've got 6,000 plot cemetery that they've lined up for. It was just totally, they got blindsided on this thing.
Let me ask you this. Let's go back to the basics of the problem. And let's talk about the College of Southern Idaho and how they got involved in this, what their attitude is and what their reaction is to the people of concerned citizens like you and I. And what's been the response? You've been at the meetings. I have not had the opportunity because of the time of the meetings, etc., to be there. But what's been the response from CSI back to the public with their questions of concern?
Well, here's the way it works. I testified last Monday. I wasn't able to make the meeting in June. I was out of town, but I was there Monday. I got there early to sign up. They allow you 3 minutes.
3 minutes.
3 minutes, and they only allowed 30 minutes. There were 25 people signed up at least to testify, and there was probably only 8 or 9 of us, and I was able to speak. I had my whole speech outlined. I read through it in a little less than 3 minutes, and I had to read fast. There's a full page, as Eb can see here, and so I covered this subject, but the Times News was there, KMVT was there. KMVT wasn't covered at all. But the attitude, there was no give or take. I mean, we couldn't ask any questions of the board members on the thing at all. And so they took our testimony and they said, well, we've got to move on to other things. And the people were very upset because after that, then we all left it because of the other business. So we went out in the hallway and people were very, very upset. The fact that they would only allow 30 minutes for this testimony. Most of the people that spoke very politely. and basically pointed out some of the things we've already talked about, the security issues. Where's the money coming from? How much money is CSI getting? How much money is going to what individuals in our community to, in this program? Are there some people that are getting wealthy over this program? And so none of those questions been asked. In fact, our committee, one of the committees that's concerned about this, said that it was patented business, or they would not reveal, the Refugee Center would not reveal. We tried to get a Freedom of Information Act thing, and they refused to give us information. So this clandestine secrecy really adds to the mystery.
Let me ask you this question. Whenever there's something in a community or a state or nationwide that is a great concern to the population, we the people should have the right to address the people in charge in a direct question and answer period. In other words, if there's a problem in the community, you go to the city council, you'll expect to have a give and take and getting an answer. Why then, if this is a problem in our community, you can go to a meeting, you can state your case, but there's no answers coming from the other side. To me, that's ludicrous.
Yeah, it is. And the fact that the meeting's also at 4 o'clock in the afternoon, so some of us have to take off work time to be there. I know people that took off work because they're concerned about this situation. Right. But most people that are punching a time clock can't do that. So, number one, the meeting should be in the evening. Number two, there should be plenty of time, should have been even up to a couple hours of testimony time, but there should be a give and take situation. So the attitude is like, don't bother us, like the Times new editorial said, we're tired of hearing about this. This is a non-problem. We've got all these good people here. And I'd like to comment about that. Part of the whole Islam philosophy is that, first of all, as I said, it's a theology. It's about 85% political, economic, military, all of those kind of aspects, and about 15% of it's actually religion. So all my Christian friends are saying, well, we've got to be fair. All Christians, all denominations should have we need to be treating them equal. Islam is a whole different ball game. And here's the real problem I'd like to get into is that they have two kinds of jihad. Number one is the terrorist jihad. Okay, the other is the cultural jihad.
Right.
And he pointed this out. Once they get to a certain population, and this has already happened in Irving, Texas, Flint, Michigan, parts of Minneapolis or Minnesota and so forth, where the Somalis have come in and so forth. We've been hearing about these things on the national media.
Well, and by the way, let me interrupt you right there. It is not immune to the state of Idaho, because right now there is a terrorist trial going on that concerns a refugee in Boise.
Absolutely. So we're already in, it's here, folks. And so do we want to just let this thing go on and on? But so he pointed out a situation where an Islam supporter was playing soccer with their family and everything, but once the population, once the Islam population took over, this Christian family was asked to convert, to leave. They burned their house down. And right now, in this community, everybody says, well, they're kind of assimilating. I can guarantee you, as soon as they get to a certain population, he said, they will segregate and they will demand Sharia law be instituted.
Let me ask you, in time restraints here this morning, I want to try to cover as much as we can. I have been highly critical of the Times News and some of their editorials, some of their op-ed pieces. One that was in last Sunday, I want to read just one paragraph in regards to the Refugee Center and also CSI and the meetings, and I want your response to this. Quote, "No doubt some trustees are growing tired of hearing the cringe-inducing, misguided rants of a few ignorant souls when it comes to the Islamic religion and the process of relocating refugees." Wait a minute. Because we're asking questions, because we're concerned, all of a sudden we are cringe-inducing, misguided rants and ignorant souls? That highly offends me.
Oh, absolutely. My blood pressure went up several points reading that. But I wrote an editorial or a response to the not only the publisher in the editorial, the editor down there, and I just said your editorial is an insult to the many, not just few. Now, over 500 people heard this converted Muslim to a Christian in the last two nights.
Talking about Pastor Hadian.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay.
In both the Baptist Church in Filer Avenue and also in Twin Falls last night. And he says, we've started the immigration situation, are not ignorant, as you said. And the fact that they come out and they, as far as I know, I'm not sure the Times News was even there. There was nothing in the paper today about last night's meeting. There was an article the night before.
We got a caller with a question before I have a hard break. Good morning, caller. You're on the air.
Good morning, Zeb. And,
yes, sir.
Adrian, do you feel that the reason we're having a problem with CSI is because many of the pockets are being lined by taxpayers' money?
All right, Tony, I'll have him answer that on the air. What about that? Do you think that there was an offering of a lot of silver and a lot of coin to have CSI bend like a willow in the wind to accept all these folks with the refugee program? What do you think happened?
Well, I don't know how the thing originally started, but there's a lot of money involved, and that's what we're trying to find out, how much money they're getting and where's it going. I think it's our tax money, folks.
And why shouldn't we know?
That's right. We should know. Now, the other thing about this whole refugee program, as opposed to when my grandfather came over here as an immigrant through Ellis Island in 1903, okay, he had to have good health and a sponsor, okay. He got no government support at all. None. Okay, these people get grant money for housing, and good housing. I mean, we're not talking about just, poor housing. Good housing. We have, education and a car and other things.
Whoa, wait a minute now. Aren't these the same gratuities that were offered to you and my family?
No, and see, that's the whole deal.
Yeah,
and so, they get...
And by the way, when somebody hits me with this, I get really irate. Well, that's grant money. That's our taxpayer money.
Yeah, grant money just comes out of the ceiling?
Yeah, it just fell through that crack.
It just fell out of the crack. Zeb's just handing me all this grant money right now.
Yeah.
It's our tax money, folks.
And we have every single right to know where it's coming from and where it's going.
And as I pointed out here, we have an $18 trillion debt now, and we can't afford this.
That's right.
We can't afford anything like this.
But we are ignorant souls, Adrian. I know we got to take a hard break. That was a good pause right there. I appreciate that. We're going to be back with more with Dr. Arup and find out more about what Pastor Hadian had said here the last couple of days. And you stay tuned. Right now, we'll send it back over to our main studios. We'll be right back. Thank you.
It is time now for funeral announcements brought to you by Rasmussen Funeral Home, 1350 East 16th Street in Burley. A family serving families. Josephine Olander, an 85-year-old Hebron resident, passed away Sunday, July 26th at Cassia Regional. Graveside services will be held at 11 a.m. Friday at the Jerome Cemetery under the direction of Joel Hewitt Hansen Mortuary. George Barrera, an 80-year-old Paul resident, passed away Tuesday, July 28th at Minidoka Memorial. Funeral services will be held at 11 a.m. Saturday, August 1st at Mountain View Christian Center at 317 West 27th Street in Burley. A viewing for family and friends will be held from 5 till 7 p.m. Friday at Morrison Payne Mortuary at 321 East Main Street in Burley. Burial will conclude with services at the Paul Cemetery. This concludes funeral announcements for today, brought to you by Rasmussen Funeral Home, 1350 East 16th Street in Burley, a family serving families.
I have a story to tell. It's the most important story of my life because it's about the love of my life, my husband. I'll tell you about the time he returned a hero and brought other soldiers back as well. I'll tell you about a man who brought honor to a nation and pride to our family. And while I'm telling you this, I'll show you his medals and the flag that I now hold to my heart, and pictures of him with our kids and grandkids. I do this not only to respect my husband's memory, but so that others remember their own time with him. And I do this for myself, because his funeral is for me, too. This is a day we'll always remember for a life worth celebrating.
Rasmussen Funeral Home in Burley can provide that meaningful funeral for you and your family. Rasmussen Funeral Home, a family serving families. Located at 1350 East 16th Street in Burley. Let them help you celebrate the life of your loved one.
And now, back to Zeb at the Ranch on AM 1230 KBAR. To reach Zeb, call 436-2244 or toll free 1-866-927-4587. And now, here is Zeb Bell.
Thank you very much and welcome back. Zeb at the Ranch, and we're in our last half hour. Very interesting conversation with Dr. Adrian Arp in regards to the Refugee Center at CSI and other topics this morning. But first of all, I also want to remind you tomorrow, don't forget to tune in at 10:32 right here on Zeb at the Ranch for Vicky's Country Garden and all of her gardening tips and landscaping tips right there on the program for you. 185 South, 600 West of Paul. That's where Vicky's Country Garden is located, and she is such a sweetheart. You're going to love the program. She'll answer all your questions. Call in. Don't forget, Vicky's Country Garden tomorrow right here on Zeb at the Ranch. Adrian, I want to pursue this, and then I know you wrote a rebuttal with the points of interest in regards to what you wanted to know about CSI, the refugees, etc. We're going to get into that, but we have a call on the air first. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Yes, Zeb.
Yes.
We ought to also say that the refugee centers are all put into conservative areas, Texas, here, other places. And that is because of an edict from the United Nations on where they will be put.
I'll have Dr. Arpry discuss that. We were going to get into that in a few minutes. I'll have him talk about it right now. Thank you so much.
I'll also bring something else up.
Yes, Doc.
Okay.
Is that the
They come in, they migrate, they segregate, and they reproduce. And that's exactly what they do.
Absolutely.
He said that they get handouts from the refugee center. They not only get housing, education, food stamps, and they get handouts from the refugee center. They get cars, and they get a job.
Boy, it's nice to have somebody just line that up for you, isn't it, Doc?
It sure is. It'd be nice to be on the front teeth of the sow, wouldn't it?
Yeah, I guess you're right. Thank you, and I'll have Adrian respond to that.
God bless.
You touched on this earlier, Adrian, but the caller said that a lot of the placement, if you will, of the refugees has been dictated to go to conservative areas, i.e. Texas, etc.
Right. There's more mosque in Texas than any area, and he pointed out, the pastor pointed out, Sharam Hadian, that yes, they're specifically targeting conservative states, conservative areas like Idaho, Texas, and other areas. 190 of these refugee centers, and they're now going to be sending in literally thousands and thousands. And so we're bringing in mostly Muslims, and we're bringing them in from areas like Syria and places that are hotbeds of ISIS activity.
That's right.
I mean, so we really have a big security problem. I would like to, and he brings up a good point. It's the United Nations. And how many times have I said to get out of the United Nations?
No, I know ever since I've known you.
Okay, so there's a bill, H.R. 1205,
right,
is to get out of the United Nations. This program, the United Nations, is the enemy. They're evil, too. They're run by socialists and communists. have since their inception. They're working with our State Department to select the people coming in here. Here we have all these Christians that are being murdered over there in Syria and different countries. And none of those people are coming in here. They're not selected. They're turned out.
I got to ask you a question there,
Yeah.
and I want to make sure we highlight this point. Why are we kowtowing? Why are we listening to the beck and whim of the United Nations on a program that involves our United States citizens, our communities, our towns, our cities? Why are we taking orders from the United Nations?
Just because we allow it to happen. Because our elected officials will not take a stand. I've contacted everybody needs to get hold of Simpson and our 2 senators, and if you're in other areas, get hold of your senators. This whole thing could stop if they would put their foot down, but we've got to start, and like you said, it has to come from the community activity here. We've got to have some accountability. From our security people that we've got to stop this program. The bottom line is that we have to stop these refugees from coming in here. Because once they're here, we won't get rid of them.
You had a point of interest, points of interest you wanted to highlight. I'm going to ask you to expedite through it as fast as you can.
Okay, real good. Number 1, Islam is a political theology, not just a religion. Islam's goal is world domination by terrorism or population.
Okay, now let's stop there because there's a point of interest that needs to be made. It was less than a year ago on ABC News, a network program, that an imam stood up in regards to Islam and said it won't be long and there will be an Islamic flag over the White House.
Well, and it's true. And with Valerie Jarrett, she's the White House chief counsel. She's behind the scenes in the White House up there, and she's born in Iran. Her parents were both communists. She has said openly that she wants this country to be an Islamic nation. Okay, Islam's Quran has 106 verses that commands Muslim followers of Islam to kill infidels if they do not convert.
And that's the ISIS basic coat of arms, if you will.
That's right.
Yes.
There are at least 16 Islamic terrorist organizations. Iran is the kingpin leader of that, and we just made this great security deal. Here, I would like to make a point there. In their own theology, in the Quran, it says you can openly lie, take treaties, make a treaty, but break the treaty, which we just did. They're going to break the treaty. They've already said they will. Their own Quran tells them, commands them to do that.
They've been laughing at us. I want to stop there and make another conservative point here that should have been done, but it wasn't done, and you and I talked about it privately. I made a statement on the air many, many times over the last month that it's ludicrous to think that John Kerry, of all people, as Secretary of State, didn't go into that meeting with Iran, sit down at the table, look across the table and say, you're not going to get anything as far as sanction relief until we hear that all our prisoners have been marched out of the prison and are safe at our embassy. Until then, sit back, drink a sip of water. We're not talking about anything.
There you go. Absolutely.
Why wasn't that done? Why?
Yeah, that's right. Why? Well, I think even the Democrats are, on top of that. ISIS has been recruiting, as we said, on the internet and encouraging converts to kill military and police. And
we're seeing that.
Okay, the next statement I made, we see that happening with a Muslim killing 5 military personnel 2 weeks ago in Tennessee. He had a college degree, yet killed for his ideology. A Pew Research survey in 2007 now found that 26% of young Muslims in America support suicide bombings in support of jihad.
Oh, my God.
26%. That was in 2007.
Yeah.
Okay.
So here we are 8 years later, and things are much, much worse.
Much, much worse. Okay, the other problem is from 2001 to 2013, the U.S. has issued 1,628,854 green cards to mostly Muslim immigrants. If even a small percentage are converted to radical jihad Islam, that adds up to thousands who will kill Americans to implement Sharia law. Remember, under Sharia law, women have few rights and are treated as property.
And we are seeing little by little, whether it's in Texas, whether it's in New Jersey, whether it's in Arizona, whether it's in Washington, we are seeing little bits and pieces of the demands of implementing Sharia law.
That's right. So we're seeing these segregate areas, and it'll happen here. In fact, it was just brought out at the meeting. We're now starting to see the women starting to wear their burqas. I just saw one the other day, and see that. So what that means is they're starting to get open enough that they feel comfortable that they can start bringing in their Sharia law here to Twin Falls area.
Let's back up to the culture, a very conservative Western culture of CSI. Why would CSI and President Jeff Fox and the other members of the so-called council at CSI, why would they allow this to happen without a lot of insight, a lot of research, a lot of study, and why will they not answer questions? I think everybody in this audience should be calling the college and demanding they know why and get answers on the money and everything else, because it is a taxpayer-funded CSI institution.
It's all about the money.
I'm sure
it's all about the money. That's what everybody boils.
You got to talk in the microphone, Adrian. There you go.
It's all about the money, and about that part. The next point that I had is this cultural jihad that takes place, and this is they show the mental, a show of force, intimidation. They call it illegal is another part of that, where they sue people who offend them. They bring in just the population.
By the way, you made a point there. You made another point. They will sue people that offend them. So, in other words, our free speech is null and void.
Right. See? Yeah. So they have the migration population thing. Okay, in Europe, the population of the French and so forth over there averages about 1.5. They're not even reproducing enough to keep going. So the Muslims are populating at the rate of 5.5 to 8. So, and by the way, even though they say they're against homosexuality, they're against abortion, well, no, not really. They would like all of us to abort ourselves and not have any kids so they can take over. I mean, that's part of their program.
You went to the meeting, and I've got a weather forecast in just a minute.
Both of them, yeah, two of them.
We went to two of the meetings. And what was the mission statement that Pastor Hedian wanted to leave the 500-plus people that were at those meetings? What was the number one theme that his...
We have a real security problem. It's like we're stuck on an overcrossing, a railroad crossing, and there's a freight train bearing down on us and with no way to stop. That's what's coming at us, folks, if we do not take a stand. It won't be long before we will be faced with an overwhelming number of people in this area that will want to be implementing Sharia law, and we will be helpless to stop it.
Is his message, and I'm sure he speaks at many, many locations during the course of a month.
Yeah, absolutely. He's got security guard, by the way. He has 4 security guards with him. Oh, yeah. He's been threatened many, many times.
Yeah.
And so he's got security guard. 2 guys with handguns were sitting right up front at these meetings.
Well, I'm sure that he does a lot of speaking all over the country, but is his message being received? Are people listening? Is he seeing any net result of people paying attention?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, and there's, all kinds of activities are going forth, but the problem is there's still so much apathy, like the pastor you had on the last hour. The Christians got to get involved and get beyond their 4 walls of their church. They need to understand that there are churches out there now that are teaching Sunday school lessons that are incorporating the Quran.
Yeah.
Okay? Yeah. In the Christian churches. And there's also these people that are taking our tax money for the refugees. So it's a big money, and I won't mention any of the churches involved, but it's quite a list.
I've got a weather forecast to get in here quickly, and your calls are welcome at 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Don't forget Scarro's Meats, 331 North Road, Jerome, 324-7657. Oh, your hometown meat cutter, changing the way we eat one delicious bite at a time. They guarantee everything they sell, and they've got that hot summer barbecue special. Listen to this for just $199. Ribeye steaks, New York strips, sirloin tips, ground beef, pork chops, brats. Oh, it's delicious. You're going to love it. The hot summer barbecue special at Scarro's Meats. Call them today, 324-7657. Here now, our weather.
Here's your weather forecast as we do hit midweek. Sunny skies for today. A little bit on the breezy side, but a gorgeous day. High of 83, tonight low of 50. Tomorrow, sunny skies. Going to be creeping up to about 90 degrees. And then as we work our way towards the weekend, partly to mostly sunny skies, highs are going to be in the low to mid-90s, and we can expect this high-pressure system to pretty much stick around for about the next 10 days. That's your weather forecast for Zeb at the Ranch.
Thank you, Gina. And right now, Scarro's Meats, 331 North Road, Jerome, 324-7657. Changing the way we eat one delicious bite at a time. Adrian, when you were at that meeting, both meetings with Pastor Hadian, would you say that you left the meetings perhaps more reinforced that there's a lot of good people that are caring people that are concerned as to what's going on?
Absolutely. I think people are really upset with what's going on, and they're becoming aware of the problem, and that's the good news. To get organized, people, like I say, need to be working through their churches, because these churches, people have sit back. We've been very apathetic about this problem that's coming down the road, about the attack on our country at all levels. You talked about the homosexual thing, the scouting thing that's going on, and so forth. But there's another problem that we haven't touched on yet that is very important to each and every one of us that have kids and grandkids that are trying to find jobs. Okay?
Yeah.
Okay, this was another point that I made. American jobs have been lost with all the immigrants coming into America. Not counting illegal aliens, there's only one new job for each 2 immigrants. The resulting is that millions of American workers are either underemployed or unemployed. There's over 48 million Americans are now on food stamps and other welfare. The cost of this to finance is billions of dollars, and so we don't need any more refugees. I personally think we should stop all immigration and find out who's here. All immigration. I don't care, legal or otherwise. But most of this is considered legal immigration. The other part is that it isn't long these people get green cards, they can vote. And they will vote. And the one thing that this community will do, they only have to have a small percentage in a community, because they will all go to the polls. They'll vote themselves into sheriff, into elected offices, and pretty soon they take over community. This has already happened in Irving, Texas, Flint, Michigan, and other areas in this country. Okay. So it's not just something that's happening overseas, it's happening right here.
Let's talk a little bit about the finances. They come here and basically they have nothing, and we are providing what? Make a quick list.
Well, housing.
Okay.
They get transportation of some sort. They usually don't speak a language, so we have to pay for somebody to teach them English. Translators and so forth. And they also get educational money, so that basically free tuition.
So they're getting a gratuity that the taxpayers are not afforded.
That's right. It's our tax money,
and it's our tax money going to help this.
Right.
Now, is there a period of time before the well runs dry?
I'm not sure what that is, supposedly, but a lot of those people then get placed.
Okay. But if they don't get placed, and they don't have any money for rent, and they don't have a job, back on the taxpayer's dime again.
That's right.
This is a revolving door, and it's a problem door.
Oh, I think most of them, they kind of get preference in jobs. And
that would be discrimination.
Well,
you're saying.
I'm sorry, but it's happening.
Yeah.
At least that's what I understand. Now, I don't know all about that part of it. I haven't had a chance to really know about it. But see, I just the opposition that's come into this thing. Somebody that knows somebody that's working at the refugee center said that they may be backing off. They may be bringing refugees, but they may not be bringing them from Syria. Well, I'm saying we don't need any of them.
Not now.
We do not need any of them.
Financially, this country cannot afford it.
We can't afford it. Personally, tax money is just,
Now, is the college going to arrange a series of meetings in the future, not only to be heard, or not only to let you be heard with your questions, but are they going to ever have any give and take? That's something that should be arranged and something that should be pushed.
You're right about that part. Absolutely. We haven't been able to get any feedback from them other than they refused to give us any financial information as to where our money going.
They refused.
Absolutely.
Our tax dollars, but they refused.
They refused.
This is our local college.
Yeah.
Interesting.
And they're, of course, they're basically tied into, they seem to have the attitude, they're tired of hearing about it.
So they're tired of hearing us, the ignorant souls.
That's right.
That are footing the bill.
That are paying the bill.
Oh, how interesting.
Yeah,
maybe we are ignorant because we're putting up with this.
That's right. In that regard, I think you're right. Absolutely. But we have a real security problem. So, folks, the hue and cry, the message is that, number one, we need to be stopping this whole program because of nothing. If one thing that our elected people take an oath of office to protect us from enemies, foreign and domestic. In this case, it's both, because it's a foreign program that's being put in place and domestically. We don't know who the next jihad terrorist, Islam convert to jihad is going to take place. And it could happen here.
It could happen anywhere.
It can happen anywhere, and it already is.
That's right.
The military seems to be the big target right now, but we can't afford it. We don't have enough jobs for the people we have here now. I've got kids that are not having a hard time getting decent jobs. And it's really hurt.
I've got to get a good word in here from my major sponsor, but then when we come back, I want to also give you about 2 minutes maximum, so look at your watch, and we're going to talk about the free trade agreement that has to be addressed real quick, so stand by for that.
Sure.
Real quick, I want to remind you about our major sponsor, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, all 7 locations. All 7 locations with the best in tires, you know that. The best in brake service, you know that. The best in front end alignment, shocks and struts and batteries, and they have a free pre-trip safety check where they will visually look at the problem possibles in your vehicle, and hopefully they can get them rectified just like that. They can, and they will. These people are really, really good. I've known them now for years and years, and believe me, I'm so proud to have them as our major sponsor. Great folks. Lane and Rupert, Dave on Blue Lakes and Twin, Mike and Buell, Mike and Jerome, the Twist family and Paul, John on Poline and Twin Falls, and Randy on Overland and Burley. Nobody better. Your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. You stop in and see them today. Now, Adrian, I want to just quickly ask you, the free trade agreement, man, I'll tell you what, this is mind-boggling. I've read bits and pieces of it. I couldn't get a hold of a whole copy, and by that, I probably wouldn't have had time to read it all in its entirety. I'm against the free trade agreement. I don't like the power that goes to the presidency. I don't like what it could possibly do to American agriculture. Am I wrong?
Absolutely not. Well, it wouldn't be so bad if it was actually about trade. It's misnomed. It's a trade merger bill, because we merge. It basically does away with our independence,
right?
Because we turn everything over to the international tribunals and so forth. But there's only 5 chapters of the 29 that have to do with trade. So you hear about the trade. The Wheat Association, cattlemen, they're all for it. because they really haven't seen the rest of it, and nobody's really seen it.
I was going to say
the whole
nobody's
thing
really read it.
Yeah, the whole thing has been secret. Unfortunately, both senators need to be wrapped on the knuckles really good because they voted for this fast track. And why they did that, with all the information out there, is just they need to reconsider and repent when it comes up for a final vote.
Wouldn't you agree that trade bill also is another insidious movement pushed by the United Nations?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, this forms a regional government with us in the EU countries. They're more bankrupt than we are, and so we're going to join forces with them and turn over our sovereignty to the European Union and all that goes with it, and then the one with the Pacific Rim countries is the same thing. So we're going to get in bed with all of these socialists around the world. Not that our leadership is certainly leaning very heavily on socialism as it is, but so it's going to tie us into climate change, sustainable developments, homeland security, military, international courts. All of these things have nothing to do with free trade. In fact, all of these trade agreements from NAFTA, the Korean one, and so forth, have all been one-sided. We've come out on the short end of the stick.
All right, I will say that I wished we had another hour. I really do, but we're out of time, and I've got to have you back because of the, I will call it this way, very insidious developments that are going on with the Obama administration to force and coerce all of us to accept more of the ridiculous green energy and climate change. Well, and I'll have you back to talk about that.
Well, we need to be getting on to our elected people here and our security people to stop this CSI refugee program.
I agree.
Put it and stop it in its track because it's a real danger to us.
If you hear of any more meetings or anything going on or transpiring, let me know on this program. Thank you very much, Adrian.
You're welcome.
Appreciate it. Tomorrow on the program, it's that busy Thursday. We've got so many different segments and so many great people coming on. The Chamber Report, and we're going to have Rita Ramsey, and we've got all kinds of reports with the Cassia County School System, Jerome County Fair, Vicky's Country Garden. My goodness, we've got a great abundance of different people coming on with different stories. So don't miss a minute of it. Tomorrow, Zeb at the Ranch will start at 8:06, go to 11. And remember, the way things were are the way things ought to be. God bless you and your family. We'll see you tomorrow morning at 8:06.